Good evening, my dear viewer. Thank you so much for choosing the National Broadcaster, coming to you live from Broadcast House, Naila Avenue. My name is Sandra Kahunde. Happy to be here, to be part of your evening at this 4th day of April 2023. And I'm here to talk about Eskom. I'm sure you've heard about it, knowing its responsibility being there to maintain and manage, of course, Uganda's electricity plants, that is in Jinja. I'll talk about the Nalu Valley and Kira itself. We're here to find out the progress after its incorporation, that is in 2002, and getting the 20-year concession. How have things been like for them, and how is it like to be in Uganda and manage those particular plants? And also putting in mind, not forgetting that Eskom is the largest or the biggest generator of energy that is in Uganda. All that and much more in this particular special edition that we're bringing to you live from Broadcast House, Nile Avenue. And to give us insight when it comes to that particular talk, joining me on set, I am having a beautiful lady, a great lady. I enjoy spending time with women, mothers of the nation, and of course, being at the forefront in various aspects of life. Thinking about the boy child and the girl child works wonders for us, and that is what we are here as the national broadcaster, to bring that interest and enthusiasm among the women. And of course, I'm joined by the managing director, Eskom Uganda, that is Miss Twazama Ngangi. I have the right pronunciation. She's going to give us more insight when it comes to all that. Good to have you on the program.
Good evening, Sandra. And
good evening to you. How have you been?
I've been well. It's been a long journey, but a fulfilling one. I think I've given it my best, and I'm happy where I am from the achievement that we have registered as Eskom Uganda.
Well, allow us to say congratulations as a national broadcaster.
Thank you.
And we're happy to be spending time with you this evening. Maybe just briefly for the viewer out there getting to know Eskom Uganda Limited, and of course the 20-year journey. How has been the concession right here in our region, Uganda?
Thank you, Sandra, for the question. Eskom Uganda Limited is a subsidiary of Eskom Enterprises Limited, which is the investment arm of Eskom Holdings South Africa. We got a concession with the government of Uganda of a 20-year with a mandate to operate and maintain Nalu Valley and Kira power station as prudently as required by the concession agreements. So in these 20 years, we believe that we have been able to achieve that mandate of operating these assets in a prudent way, as confirmed by an independent engineer that was appointed together by ourselves, that is Eskom Uganda Limited, jointly with Uganda Electricity Generation Company, which is representing the government of Uganda. So the independent engineers concluded through their assessments of these two power plants that Eskom has managed and operated these power plants as prudently as required by the concession agreements. So that is what I can say at the moment when it comes to the operation of these two power plants.
How has the environment been when it comes to investment in Uganda? I know Uganda has lots of platforms for everyone to do and transact their businesses, but how has it been like for you?
Thank you for that question. I think I will congratulate Uganda and the government of Uganda. They have created a good, conducive investment environment. The agencies that are there to regulate the environment have been very robust in what they do, and they've ensured that we operate within the envelopes that are required in our operations. To name a few of the agencies that have supported us through the journey, and they've played a key role in us operating the two power plants. Firstly is the Department of Water Resources and Management. This agency is tasked, the one that approves our water permit, our abstraction permit of how much water we need to abstract from the lake to generate power. One of the other agency, we have the the NEMA, Environmental Management Authority, that gives us licenses, environmental licenses to operate these power plants, and they supervise us during the operations. We also have the Electricity Regulatory Authority that approves our operations and also our investments that we do at the power plant. We also have the Uganda Electricity Transmission Company Limited, which is our main customer, our bulk buyer of the power that we generate. We also have Uganda Electricity Generation Company. We have the concession with them that provides supervision and ensure that we comply to the concession agreement. So those are the few that I'm just mentioning, and this shows the government, the government's commitment in ensuring that investors have an environment for us to invest, and we are supported to ensure that we deliver on what we need to do. Thank you.
Well, I know it's never a smooth journey all through it all, but sometimes when one sits and tries to lean back, or maybe a little folding of the hands, there's a bit of, at least of laxity. I'm sure you've registered a bit of achievements.
Yes, we have registered achievements in the power plant. For example, from the performance perspective, the power purchase agreement that we have between Eskom and transmission, which is Uganda Electricity Transmission Company, requires us to have our plant availability, which is one measure of the performance of the plant, between 94% and 96%. And over the years, we've been able to achieve that target at an average of 96.6%. Plant availability is an indication of your availability in terms of the assets. Are they available when required to produce a reliable power for Uganda? Also, we do some capacity tests, always to test how much output can we get out of these two power plants. This is an annual requirement that we do every year as per the contract. I'm happy to share with you that we've been able to achieve those, the plants have been able to respond very well. We recently did a capacity test on the 9th of March for Kira Power Station. The installed capacity for Kira is 200 megawatts. We're able to produce about 203 megawatts, which was about 103% above the rated capacity. We also did one on the 30th of March for Kira, for Nalubale Power Station, which is 180 megawatts. We're able to register 183 megawatts, which is also about 101% above what is installed. So these are some of the indications whether the plants are able to perform as what they are required to perform. Also, in terms of failures, we used to have, when we started the concession, to have major equipment failures, that is failures that are taking more than 10 hours to recover from. We used to have about 90 per year. We have since reduced those failures through the investments that we have been implementing in the two assets, and we have reduced to an average of about 15 per year, which for me is a remarkable performance to reduce those failures, because by reducing the failures and improving on the turnaround time in terms of repairing any failures, it helps in ensuring that the plant is available and our availability
so
is
the Ugandans
increased.
need to be rest assured when it comes to performance and the improvements you've done with the plants. It's amazing.
Yes, we have to reassure you. I think the investments and the operational philosophies and maintenance philosophies that we have implemented in the plant have bear the fruits that we are looking for through the indicators that we measure in terms of plant performance.
Well, are there like any major upgrades, like you've explained, when it comes to the trials you had, even recently on the 30th of March?
Yes, we had done major upgrades. If we look at Nalubale Power Plant, which is about 69 years old, which will be turning 70 years next in the next year, that is 2024, all the generator transformers of Nalubale, all 10 of them, have been upgraded. We have also upgraded the cables in Nalubale, and we even increased the size of the cables from 300 millimeters to 400 millimeters. Because these cables run underground, we ensure that there is sufficient cooling and we don't have premature failures of these cables. We have also replaced all the excitation systems of Nalubale for all the 10 units. We have also upgraded all the hydraulic governing system for Nalubale, all the 10 units. We have also upgraded on the switchyard the 2 interbus transformers that connect the 33 kV substation to 132 kV substation. And not only upgraded, we also upgraded them from a 40 MVA transformers to 60 MVA transformers to allow for any possible expansions in the area around Ginger, and we need to transport more electricity. Also on the switchyard, the protection within the switchyard has been upgraded. That has some of the just big ticket items that we have done on Nalubale. The same applies to Kira. Kira, we have upgraded the excitation systems for all the units from unit 14 to unit 15. The circuit breakers have been upgraded from unit 11 up to unit 13. We have also upgraded all the electronic governing system for all the 5 units from 11 up to 15. So we have done also the advent control computer upgrade that have been upgraded in the 2 power plants. So we should be getting more life out of these power plants with the upgrades. But having said that the upgrades that we have done, it doesn't mean that these are the end of the upgrades that are required. These are running plants that need continuous maintenance, continuous operation prudently, and also continuous investments, because we are aware that each and every piece of equipment have a lifespan, and it has a design life that you would like that it should achieve. But if you operate it prudently, you might extend the life and delay certain investments.
Well, extending the life and the improvements that you're talking about, you know, of course something needs to be serviced at the end of the day.
Yes.
Which kind of duration are we giving it? The checkup after 5 years or 10 years, there has to be a standard.
As I indicated, Sandra, is that the different equipment have different lifespan. When the consultant that we appointed, the independent engineer, that is a Canadian engineering company, that is Hedge, they did an assessment of having done these upgrades, what more can we achieve out of these power plants? At the beginning, before Eskom took over, there was a due diligence that was done by Lameya, a consultant, and they also have made some lifespan in terms of the what is available, that how much life the power plants can
they had to
run
deal with what was available
at the time. For example, the main dam, the dam was given a life of 34 years. Hedge, after we have refurbished the dam, in case that it can still be there for the next 60 years.
60 years.
Yes.
Wow.
The Nalubale powerhouse, knowing very well that Nalubale has a particular phenomenon called the alkali-silica reaction, a reaction that is happening with the concrete, causing it to swell and cause cracks on the structure. Lameya had indicated at the time that the power structure can be there for about 10 years, but now Hedge says it can run for the next 30 years. So if we do the current upgrades as required at the intervals and we continue to invest, Nalubale can still run for the next 30 years.
If we do them at the right intervals.
Yes, if we continue to invest on these assets. The same applies with Kira, that is the powerhouse of Kira can still run for the next 60 years.
Wow.
So we still have life in these 2 power plants. We just have to continue doing the right thing and continue investing as they.
It's a journey. It's a journey. It's
yes.
a process. And well, 20 years is not easy as well. I'm sure you've just had some bit of challenges, like earlier on you did mention some of the failures, and now checking with the upgrade all the time, with time checking it all. Some of the challenges that you've experienced along the way.
Yes, there have been challenges on the way. Firstly, as I indicated, that Nalubale is quite older, about 69 years. It requires constant monitoring and upgrading of equipment, because some of the equipment is not supported anymore by original equipment manufacturers. So we need to upgrade it. So what we have experienced is that we don't have a very strong, solid supplier base within Uganda. As a result, we have to import equipment from outside.
That was about to ask, that you have to
from outside.
Try to outsource.
Yes. We've done, our wish is that supply base can increase within Uganda.
Is there a possibility with the findings that you have?
No, there is a possibility because as more power plants are coming up, then it gives a business case for any investor to come and open up manufacturing plants within Uganda, because now we're going to have a more span of power plants that are coming up. So the other thing that we had challenges with is around Nalubale specifically, with its alkali silica reaction. The structure that needs to be monitored, that we have to take actions that we need proactive actions to manage that power structure. We also had challenges with skills. We have a very young workforce, which is less than 40 years. So we know that that workforce is quite mobile. So the retention of skills became a challenge. You find that we also have competing within the energy sector of these same skills. So to retain them is quite a challenge that we need to always be creative of how to retain them. So we also, at the start of the concession, around 2006, we had a huge drought. As a result, when we started the concession, there were no water limitation of how much water you can extract from the lake. As a result, we were able to generate without restrictions. But with the drought that was experienced in 2006, the DWRM then came with restrictions of how much, and also issuing permits of how much water you can extract from the lake.
It must have been really tough.
Yes, because now you were not being able to generate at the level that you wanted to, because we had to preserve the lake and use the water that has been allocated to you. Then on the flip side, around 2020, we had floods, we had heavy rainfalls. Now we have another challenge of possibly ensuring that you manage the dam, that you don't have any overtopping.
When there's a drought and then when there are floods, it's also another thing?
Yes, that is the challenge that we have. But we have been able to navigate through all those challenges and make sure how do we manage when there's heavy rainfall, so that we ensure that the integrity of the dam it's enhanced, and we make sure that we don't damage the dam. That's where now you get allocation from DWRM to open your sluice gates and to release the water, so that we don't constrain the dam.
Well,
so those
through it all, how is the demand so far since Eskom took over with the 20-year concession? How has the demand been when it comes to electricity itself amongst the Ugandans, and have you managed to address them?
Yes, we have been managed to meet the demand that Ugandans are looking for. When we started the concession...
Because that's a talk that goes on and on with power. When power goes off, people end up complaining.
When we started, it was mostly Nalubale and Kira power stations that were running. Bujagali was still under construction. We were producing about 94% of the electricity generated in Uganda. With Bujagali coming on board in 2012, our market share also decreased a little bit, because we had new players that came on stream. As I stand currently, we ended with the market share about 30%, because we have small hydros coming in when we have the other power plants coming up. So the demand for electricity, it is increasing, but still more needs to be more power needs to be taken because of the power plants that are currently coming up. We have Karuma that is coming on board as well, so there must be off-takers of this power. So we are in anticipation of the government's drive to ensure access to electricity is increased, that by 2025 Uganda should be sitting at 65. We welcome that, and we believe that those initiatives are driven so that we have more power taken. More
plants, good balance, working together.
Definitely, because we don't want to have power that is not consumed. We want that more people to have access to electricity, and I think government is doing its level best to ensure that Ugandans have access to electricity.
Wow. Interesting discussion we're having right here for the viewer who has just joined us. We're here talking about Eskom after the 20-year concession, and of course giving us insight when it comes to that particular talk. having the managing director, Ms. Ngangi, giving us all that insight. Just getting to know with the communities around in Jinja, where the plants are located, that is Nalubale and the Kira that you're talking about. How have you maintained the relationships with the communities that you have?
Thank you, Sandra. Two things that we have done as Eskom. One, we have a program where we invest in our communities, our corporate social investment. We invested around Jinja, around Bukwe. We have a school called Njeru Primary School that we have upgraded and ensure that we remove all the asbestos roofing and have with iron sheets to make sure that the children are studying in a healthy environment, as we all know that asbestos can be carcinogenic. We have also invested in Chimaka, in Jinja, where we built a maternity ward with partnership with a local MP in that area. We have also invested in sport through our golf tournaments. We invested in tree planting, and we have partnered with schools like Wanyange Girls Schools, and we planted some trees there and also trees around the country. We, furthermore, in North Ngulu, we also have partnered with a lady there, and we built a vocational training center that is helping to skill girls in tailoring, in hairdressing, in computer literacy, you name a few. Beside that, also within Bukwe and Jinja districts, we've been also supporting in terms and paying our royalties to these two municipalities, which we understand from municipality they've greatly assisted in service delivery in these two districts. So these are some of the initiatives as Eskom that we have done for Uganda beyond the operation and maintenance of Nalubale and Kira power plants.
And I'm sure there are lots of other initiatives that can come to play at that. Maybe something else. Of course, we know that Eskom itself is the largest generator of energy in Uganda. You being that, maybe just letting the viewer get to really understand the impact that you play when it comes to energy in Uganda, even after the 20-year concession itself.
Thank you for that question. Yeah, the impact that Nalubale and Kira in Uganda has been huge, in the sense that Nalubale and Kira is the lowest, there's the lowest US cents per kilowatt hour or unit of electricity that is produced. Now, with Uganda having more power plants coming in, the Nalubale's electricity tariff helps in neutralizing the tariff to try to bring it down for the consumer. So I see Nalubale still be a very key strategic role player within the electricity industry, given of its strategic nature, and given that the drive from government to ensure that the electricity tariff is conducive for all Ugandans can afford, and Nalubale plays a key role from that front. So going forward, we have power plants coming up. Nalubale is still there to also play their role, and it can still run for the next years. It can delay probably certain investments, because you can still get life from Nalubale depending how you pace your investments, taking cognizance also of the economic growth, because you don't want to be left behind in terms of power supply and power generation.
Well, I'll request you to expound more when it comes to the economic the economic life and the economic life operating condition after handing back the plants themselves.
After handing over the plants, as I indicated earlier, we have done our part in terms of investments that we have done. Over the 20-year period, there is about $52 million that we invested in the plant against a target of 60 million that was approved by the regulator. And 65% of that investment has went to Nalubale. But even beyond the concession, as I indicated, there is still some more investment that needs to be done, because we want to get as much life of those power plants as possible. equipment do not reach their end of life at the same time, so there will be staggered investment that needs to happen to ensure that we maximize on the availability of Nalubale, which is also playing a key strategic role from an electricity tariff perspective in lowering the tariff because of its $1 per kilowatt hour that is produced from Nalubale and Kira.
Well, you have all the expertise, I should say, and you being here for quite a long while, and the journey through it all with the particular plants at Jinja. What would your advice be, or what would the general outlook be like that that would make someone understand out there, the viewer, to really get to understand when it comes to the outlook of electricity in Uganda as a whole, by the findings and the experience that you carry all through these years?
I think the electricity outlook is quite exciting. There are various sources of electricity that have been looked at within the generation mix. As you know, that the government is looking at solar, is looking at biomass, is looking at geothermal, is looking at nuclear, over and above hydro that is currently running. So the prospects within the different sources of electricity generation that is there, it's also exciting also for the young professionals that are coming up, because these are new technologies that need to be implemented in the country, and it gives them some good career growth in expanding in those in this fields. Yes. So from a Uganda perspective, I think with also Karuma coming on board, what will be required is that as the government has already started to have an integrated East African power pool, it will play a key role to ensure that power can be sold among the key players within the East African power pool. So there is a huge prospects and what needs to happen in the next future in terms of electricity.
Speaking, that is to do with the future of electricity in Uganda. Now, when it comes to the future of Eskom Uganda itself, after a 20-year concession journey,
the immediate thing where Eskom was concentrating was to ensure that we deliver on our mandate of why we were brought to Uganda and why the concession was put in place. So the immediate one was to ensure that we transfer assets that are in an operable condition, assets that can be able to be operated in the next years, which I think we have achieved that, and also beyond, to ensure that there is a skills base to ensure that these assets, there are people that are skilled that can be able to operate them beyond the concession sustainable. And I think that we have achieved that as well, because we are leaving behind a very committed young workforce that is passionate about what they do, and they want to make a difference to this country. And I believe if they are given the space and they're given the support, they will really exceed expectation. They will reach their highest potential. On the medium term, the Eskom as a group, we are looking firstly to really manage and give all our resources and our attention to the power supply in South Africa, to stabilize the power supply in South Africa, but not taking the eye off the ball in terms of any opportunities that arise within the African continent. But that is way in the short term, but that will be decided by the shareholder in terms of its appetite within the continent to further to stay longer or be engaged in any other projects. But for now is to really concentrate in South Africa and make sure that there's stable power supply within South Africa.
In case of a renewal for another 20-year concession, are you ready to go for it?
At this point, we have already actually handed over. UGCL has started operating from the 1st of April. So I think that window is already passed. We have handed over the assets, and the government is currently running them as of 1st of April 2023. And I think they will do a good job. They will build on where we stopped and even do much better.
You're very optimistic.
Yes.
Well, maybe just getting to you as the managing director all this while. Lots of achievements registered. I'm sure you have lighter moments as well. And it's been a great journey right here, knowing that, of course, government gives a good platform for transacting and doing business. Which kind of legacy would you leave behind as a managing director of Eskom Uganda?
Sandra, one of my passions as a person is about young people development. I'm a strong believer that in anything that you do, at any assignment that you do, you must ensure that there is a person who can take over at any given time. And I'm leaving behind, I've invested time and effort to ensure that the young people get the exposure that they need, get the skills that they need. And I'm leaving behind a workforce that I know is skilled. And I believe they will take Nalubale and Kira to the next level. These are young people that are less than 40 years. They are passionate in what they do. And I've instilled with them a work ethic of what it means to be a professional, why you need to do the right thing, even if there's no one watching. I've instilled a sense of never give up, that to believe in themselves, that there's always, you never give up until the last moment. You still have a chance to complete whatever that you are doing. So I believe that as I leave Uganda, those young people, give them the support that they need, give them the space for them to excel in what they do. They like what they do. Let's continue to encourage them, and they will excel even more. And they will run those plans, they know what to do. Just we need to support them, and we show them that we believe that they can do it. That is where I really, is something that makes me very proud when I live back and look at them, with love and pride.
Amazing. Maybe just sharing more tips for the viewer, or maybe what needs to be done for people in high authority, those that are concerned. Maybe you talked about the competition coming through and the different plants coming up for Uganda to have better electricity production itself. Some of the tips that you can share for those mistakes, that maybe the earlier people did in the past before Eskom came on board. Some of the tips that you need to share out.
I think one of the things is that when we run a power plant, you need to really understand what your mandate is and what the end user, the consumer, is looking for. And the key thing is to drive efficiencies, because through that efficiency, we know each and every consumer would like to have power in his house or her house. He would like to have affordable power. It must be reliable. So understanding that whatever that we do, we must make sure that we deliver on that mandate. Also knowing that with all this competition that's coming out, we compete for the same skills. And I need to really congratulate the regulator for having this vision of ensuring that all of us have a strong pipeline in terms of skills. We need to ensure at any given time that our pipeline is robust. We must know that we are dealing with a workforce that is mobile, that changes jobs all the time, but we must be prepared for that. That if Sandra leaves, there is another Sandra who can take over and move forward. So these things, we need to prepare for all these changes that are happening, and we need to prepare our young people to be able to take on them, and also ourselves to make sure that we plan the life cycles of these plants quite well, because through life cycle management of plants, we can be able to ensure that the plant's life can be extended, and you can get the plant reliable, and you can make sure that it's available all the time that is required.
And what were some of those mistakes that you did cite out when you joined the space itself? Some of the mistakes that were made, or the loopholes?
There have been mistakes there in terms of sometimes you find that you don't plan appropriately, but with time that you ensure that you change your plans as you see what are the factors that are playing out, always reviewing your plans to make sure that they are relevant and they are current. because there are so many dynamics that are causing some changes within the operation space. This operation is not static, but how do you respond to those changing dynamics and make sure that you still deliver on your mandate?
I'm still thinking about what you mentioned earlier on,
Yes.
to do with the challenges that you did experience at some particular point. That is to do with when there's drought, and then with too much water, there's flooding. Are some of the technical measures that you put in place? Because now there are lots of rains coming.
Yes, there is a lot of rains coming, and it's a known that we know that this period is a rainy season. It's always to prepare upfront. What are the challenges? The key thing is to manage the dam, that there is no overflowing of water in the dam, which could be very dangerous. So what do we need? Work with our partners. We have DWRM. We monitor the water levels continuously. We know our alarm levels, on what actions to take at different alarm levels. So you need to work with your partners so that you can make informed decisions of when do we need to release water from the dam to ensure that the dam integrity is protected. When do you preserve the water when the rains have subsided, to make sure that you manage the water that is allocated to you. So for me, you must be a team player. You need to work with other agencies, because all of us have a role to play, all of us have a mandate, and we are all for the benefit of Ugandans, and we make sure that the plants are safe for operation at any given time. Even when there is drought, to preserve the water, you still work with DWRM of how much water you can use from the lake by reducing they reduce the allocation to suit the challenge that is faced at hand. So key for me is always about collaboration. It's all about working with other people, and we make sure all of us have a common purpose to make sure that there is reliable power within the country.
That is to do with the agencies and the organs that are involved.
Yes, all
always
organs.
Working together.
Yes, we need to pull together. For one example, one of the challenges that we faced in 2012 during the heavy rains was the SADs, that were floating islands, that were quite a phenomenon that we'd never experienced before. One of the floating islands docked at the power plant. We could not solve that alone. We had to call on our other agencies, and we came together. The Ministry of Energy was there to support us. The Ministry of Works and Transport was there with their equipment to support us. So it's all about collaboration and to know who to call up to when you need you need support. And in that incident, that's where I saw many government agencies and government spheres coming together, solving a problem to ensure that the country it has reliable power, which was one of the most when we worked as a team, which it was very humbling.
Some of the memories
yes,
that you carry.
Yeah.
Wow, amazing. Well, right here at the National Broadcaster, we've been celebrating women. Yes. And of course, previously knowing that it's been a Women's Month, that is the month of March. We can't let you go without sharing a message to the fellow woman who's watching you.
Thank you very much, Sandra. Firstly, I would like to wish all the women of Uganda a happy Women's Month of March. And I think, especially women that are in leadership, it is always important that we take a woman with you as you move up the corporate ladder. Let's open doors for the young women that are coming up. Let's continue to inspire them and show them the different possibilities that are there and how much they can achieve. Continue to mentor them and coach them as our predecessors also did to us. Let's do the same, and we'll find that the girl child has opportunities like any other boy child as well. I'm very proud in Eskom Uganda Limited. We have some young women that have been recently, with the change of the concession coming to an end. Also, some got promotions of getting senior positions, which for me is I'm very proud and happy to see women in the electricity sector climbing the corporate ladder. We have in Nalubale, there's currently a technical manager, which is a lady. We have a section head electrical that is a lady, also from Nalubale. We also looking at the power plants. We find that there will be another woman will be the first in Uganda to manage a power plant, which is a proud moment that we need to support each other as women. We need to give each other opportunities and open doors for each other. We can all succeed, but it needs that is a concerted effort that we make sure that we allow these women to grow and we give them the space to grow. Thank you.
Well, great words of encouragement. I've also tried to pick mine that I'll put to use. It's been a pleasure spending time with you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Maybe if you have something that you don't want to leave out, maybe
Yes.
to the governing body that are right in the space of energy itself.
Thank you, Sandra, for this opportunity. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of Eskom and the board and management of Eskom to thank the government of Uganda for the opportunity that they've given to Eskom to operate their power plants, Nalubale and Kira Power Station. It has been a privilege and an honor to be trusted with national assets. We pray that we have done our best and we have tried to meet your expectations. Where we have not been able to meet your expectations, they were not intentional. Eskom will always be there to support Uganda at any given time when required. We wish Uganda well, and we believe even the new operators will even do more well than what we have achieved and achieve more. Thank you to Uganda, and thank you to the people of Uganda, and thank you to His Excellency for creating an investment environment that is conducive for investors to invest in Uganda. Surely, really, Uganda is an investment destination. Thank you very much.
Wow. Bravo. Uganda is the best destination. Oh, well, we can't exhaust, but it's been a pleasure spending time with you. Oh, thanks for making time. And congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Well, for the viewer out there, it's been a pleasure spending time with you as well. Just in a few minutes, we're going to be having news tonight, more updates, and Edward Kije is standing by to give you those latest updates. My name is Sandra Kahonde, and of course, I was proud to spend time with the Managing Director, Eskom Uganda, that is Miss Tunzama Ngangi. I wish you all the best on your other new endeavors. Well, the 20-year concession, as you got to know, did end. The 20-year concession, of course, that was granted to them by the government of Uganda. And I should say a thumbs up for them for the job well done when it comes to the energy sector in our nation, Uganda. They've really managed the plant so well. That is Naluvale and Kira, that is in Jinja. Well, wish you a blessed night. Keep watching UBC. Better programs lined up for you. Not forgetting our news tonight. God bless you.
Thank you.
UBC, inspiring Uganda.